Well, hello there, a surprise guest! This is the Outside Inn. You know, it's lucky for both of us that you happened to come across my little business. Lucky for you that you get to enjoy our stellar and unique hospitality, and lucky for me that I finally have an occupant to speak of. We've had full vacancy for way too long now, so this is a big relief.
Actually,
Which isn't to say that we don't deserve to drum up good business, because I promise that we are a good business. It's just location. Know that I would never trade it for any place in the world, but it is a bit out of the way. Plenty difficult to find, but hey, that's part of the charm, don't you think?
Yeah, sure. But I'm here because...
that's good to hear. Plenty of people say this place has a rustic, old-timey feel, but I prefer to think of it as timeless. I feel like no matter what happens, this place will seem the same way it does now to whoever from whenever happens to visit. Just like you have. Speaking of, I'll get everything in order for you to enjoy your stay. How many nights do you need?
I need help with my car. It broke about 2 miles away. I have a very important event to attend, and I was hoping you could help me get my car back on the road so I don't miss it.
Oh no, that's not going to be possible with that storm going on out there.
What, a storm? But I just walked in here and it was all clear.
Well, you know how storms are. They can be tricky. 1 minute it's a nice sunny day, and the next minute you're being assailed by lightning, pounding rain, and ferocious winds. That's just how it goes. Nothing to be done about it.
I don't think that storms really work that way.
Sure they do. Look outside. There's all the proof you need. There's no way that I, in good conscience, could put you back on the road in that mess. You'll just have to stay. So, how many nights?
Just until this blows over, I guess. I don't have my wallet with me, though. I left it in the car.
Oh, no, don't worry about that. I don't accept money. I wouldn't have much use for it. I tried framing some of it once, but it was a bit much.
You don't accept money? How do you charge?
Well, first, here's a theory of mine. I really, truly believe that this is a special place. I think it means something, and not just to me. The people that end up here always seem to end up here for a reason. Sometimes they have a problem that needs to be fixed, and other times they need to realize that something's wrong in the first place. In lieu of payment in money, I like to accept the gratification of helping them reconcile these problems in my own way.
So you're going to try and help me?
Not just try, succeed, I promise. It starts with us sitting down by that fireplace and you listening to a story. It'll help dig up the things that aren't being said right now and get to the root of your problem.
I don't have a problem.
Ha, yeah, sure you don't. Come on over and sit. There's also one more thing. You might not believe it, but this story is true. I saw it myself, and I swear by it. I've taken to calling it Deep Blue Eyes. So sit down, make yourself comfortable, and listen. Plenty of boys are actively discouraged from dolls. Somewhere along the line, it was decided that it was inappropriate for a boy to own a doll, to like a doll, to love a doll. Because that's too feminine, people say, and a young man should be masculine, people say. Well, a little boy named Ollie didn't agree. He lived with his mother in a little red house at the end of a little street. He liked to play soccer with his friends at school, and he liked to read comics about mighty heroes saving the day. And he loved his doll. In fact, he adored her. She was small, no bigger than a kitten, and was made entirely of the softest fabrics. She had bright red hair made from yarn that reached down to her shoulders, and lovely felt skin. She wore a pretty blue sundress and no shoes, only clean white stockings. Most of all, though, Ollie loved her eyes. They were a deep sort of blue that didn't seem to exist anywhere else, unique to her, and he loved to look into them. On the day that his big sister had given her to him, he went straight to his room and gazed into those eyes, mystified. Just before he scampered off to his room, however, his sister bent down onto her knee and placed a hand on his shoulder to tell him two very important things. First, she told him that she would miss him very much, a tear rolling down her cheek. Then, she took a moment to look into the doll's eyes as Ollie felt her soft yarn hair, and told him that her name was Sarah. When he finally came out of his room afterward, he learned that his sister had already gone for college, and it was just Ollie, his mother, and Sarah in that little red house at the end of the little street. Life didn't fundamentally change all that much. Ollie lived his life the way little boys do, without much resembling a care in the world. School wasn't something he adored, but he enjoyed his friends and the ways they would find to have fun. But always, he would look forward to coming home to Sarah. He would swing his door open and she'd be there to greet him with her deep blue eyes. Times like to change. They end and start again in new and unpredictable ways. A phone call came one day, with a man on the other line saying something had happened to his sister. No one knew or understood what had happened, but one fact was clear, even to a young boy. His sister was dead, and no one could give him or his mother a clear explanation. Just expressions of sympathy and condolences, followed by mournful silences. His mother could barely bring herself to speak. He lost his edge in soccer, and schoolwork became heavy and arduous. His house seemed a little less red. The grass seemed a little less green. But one thing didn't change. When everything else felt faded, Sarah's eyes kept their deep blue, and Ollie spent more and more time staring into them than ever before. Time didn't seem to matter anymore, and the funeral was very suddenly upon him. Ollie was forced to wear an uncomfortable black suit as he stood at the ceremony, clinging to his mother's hand and clutching Sarah in the other. She still wore her pretty blue dress in a sea of black suits. Heartbroken, friends and family all gathered to say goodbye to a dearly departed loved one. Ollie had done his very best to hold it in during the funeral, but by the time he was in the car for the ride home, tears were spilling out through choked sobs. He hugged his doll tightly, and each tear seeped into her soft material. The thought that he'd never see his sister again stuck in his mind, refusing to leave. He couldn't even really process it. He wasn't ready. He wanted desperately for it not to be real. He wanted to wake up. But when he lifted his head, he was still in the back seat, dressed in an uncomfortable black suit, trapped in reality. When he looked back down, though, he saw Sarah. He saw her eyes, and he remembered the day that he'd first met her. A smile grew on his face, and the dark thoughts became a little less persistent. The tears kept flowing, but she was there to dry them. That day seemed to drag on forever, but eventually it did end. The sky grew dark and the moon came out. Ollie's eyes started to feel heavy. His mother had gently tucked him into bed and wished him sweet dreams in a choked-up voice. She stopped at the door to look back at her son for just a moment, holding back her own tears until she left for bed herself. He felt warm in his bed, swaddled in his blankets and sheets, and surrounded by the darkness of his room. All sadness and worry ebbed away slowly as he fell asleep, all the while still hugging Sarah tight. Now, I'm sure it's clear, Sarah is a special doll. Not simply a meaningful doll, no. In that house, on that night, nestled in with that young boy, there was a tiny heart beating quietly in her chest. She waited. Her deep blue eyes looked up at the boy's adorable face, and her small hand would brush his own gently. The sound of his quiet snores and sleepy mumbles brought a smile to her face. Once she was certain that he was completely asleep, she managed to slip out of his grasp. Climbing over his arm, she came to stand on top of him to look out upon the dark room. Her smile had become a little nervous. She waited. After about an hour, she sat down and occupied herself by discreetly rubbing her boy's shoulder. This went on another hour, until there came a tapping at the window. It wasn't a tree as it often is. Their house had no trees nearby. On that night, tapping at the window in a broken rhythm, was a large hand with long black beaks for fingers that would open up to reveal long, grotesque red tongues. It tapped and scraped and slid along the glass of the window, and then another hand came up. They both grabbed the windowsill, and something pulled itself up. Sick, red eyes, sunken too far into the rotten skull of a strange bird, is the best way to describe this abomination, and it continued to threaten intrusion with its taps and scrapes. Sarah, with her deep blue eyes, stared directly into the abomination's sunken reds. It backed away, ever so slightly, and tapped less frequently. Just as that happened, something ground against the wood floor beneath them. From under the bed emerged a great claw like a crab's, made of wretched green chitin. Another came up from the opposite side of the bed, and they closed in on Ollie's sleeping form. They snapped and clicked as they opened and closed in what could have been anticipation, until Sarah got up to push them both away. They recoiled at her touch, fearfully so, but kept trying to reach Ollie just as soon as they might have had an opportunity. Sarah pushed them back down each time, all the while staring down the abomination outside. Occasionally she would shoot a glare to the closet, slightly ajar, where something with the same eyes as the abomination stared at the bed, not daring to go any further. The night continued on like this. Ollie slept soundly while Sarah stared and pushed down every terrible thing that lurked in the night. Very occasionally she would find just one moment of calm. She would look at him, at his face. It reminded her of his sister, and she was filled with a profound sadness. She'd known what it meant when she was given to Ollie, but she'd clung to the hope that tragedy might be avoided, that her girl might be safe far from this place. No. She was wrong, and it broke her heart. She wouldn't let that happen to him. Not to her boy. She would never let them take him. Her tiny heart beat fast, filled with love and determination, until the sun came up from the horizon and she nestled herself back into his arms. She felt his warmth and the beat of his heart. Once Ollie woke up, he noticed something peculiar. A smile on her face that hadn't been there the night before. Well, what did you think?
I don't understand. This all happened? Do you know about my daughter?
I might. No, wait, that's silly. I do. I absolutely do.
But I've never seen you before in my life. And how did you see the things that happened in that story?
Well, like I said before, this place is special. I can see things from here, just about everything that there is to be seen. I saw Ollie and Sarah just the same as I saw your daughter, with a very similar problem. I know you don't exactly believe her when she tells you about the monsters that come at night, because you can't see them. I really get where you're coming from. Children have such amazing imagination, but it's true. She does see the things that Ollie sees. But she's alone. There's no Sarah to defend her.
Okay, this is crazy. I don't have to believe this. It's weird that you know about it, sure, but monsters, real monsters that I can't see, you honestly expect me to believe that?
Yes, absolutely.
Well, I don't. At all. This is all crazy, all of it. The storm, this place, you.
Well, you're not entirely wrong. Look, fine, you don't have to believe me, but here, take this.
A tiny silver heart? I don't...
You like to make dolls, right? You've enjoyed it ever since you were little, and now you can make some of the most beautiful dolls that I've ever seen. My advice to you, if you choose to accept it, is to make another doll for your daughter. Your best work, a masterpiece, and put that heart inside it. That was given to me by someone that held the belief of a guardian created from great love and care that could defend their charge from any kind of evil. I respect them a great deal, and I trust their beliefs. If you're as talented as I know you are, you can make something that deserves that love and care needed to transform that thing in your hand into something real. Real and powerful enough to solve your daughter's problem. Just trust me.
This is still crazy. Why should I trust you?
Oh, hey, look! The storm cleared. Looks like we can go help you with your car now. I'll bring the truck around and you'll be on your way.
Okay. Sure, yeah. Thanks. I appreciate it.
Just exchanging services for goods, my friend. I do hope you follow my advice.
I will. I've been meaning to find a good project to work on.
One more satisfied customer. Barely believed me, though. There must be a better way to be more convincing. In any case, there's just one more thing to say. I can see you. Right now. Listening to all this. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you come back for more little shows from the outside in. But in the meantime, have a good day, my friends. And I'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to From the Outside In, created by TJ Herriot. The writer of this episode and the voice of Sal the Innkeeper is TJ Herriot. The voice of the Dollmaker is Katie Otten. This episode was edited by Adam Chapman, with music by Idolin Orpheus and the Overtale music team. You can follow us on Twitter at OutsideIncast, or email us at fromtheoutsideinpodcast@gmail.com. If you'd like to help out with the show, feel free to tweet or email us whenever. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next one.